And I'm inviting for the closing remarks Margarita Asenova, Robert Hamilton, and Oleg Magaletsky.
Thank you. Come, Oleg, I want you to speak first. Oleg, as Peter put it today, is the heart and the engine of this movement. He is not stopping working. I was joking yesterday that he's like an energizer bunny, just working, and not sleeping at all. Okay, you have yours.
There was one Russian agent in Ukraine who pretended he's a journalist, and he said, it was 20 years ago, that it doesn't matter you're interested in policy or you doesn't interested in policy, policy will someday interest in you. The same with Russia. We could be interested in Russia, not be interested in Russia, but Russia already has scenario and plan. I speak not about Ukraine. I speak about United States. I speak about the European Union. They already have a war against free world. It's war not kinetic like in Ukraine, but it's hybridic, it's informational, it's propaganda and other way how they fight against free world. But in United States, in Europe, we still have not a lot, but we have time to make this war not on the Vilnius, Tallinn or Helsinki or Berlin, but we could change it for the front, not front line, but frontier for post-Russia. So this is a point which I asked people here in United States, please don't wait for the second Pearl Harbor, because Russia and her ally, like People's Republic of China, Taiwan will be attacked by PRC, Iran and North Korea want to attack free world, and they will do it, and only way how to stop them is to be prepared. If they know that you are prepared and you are ready to fight them, they won't attack you, because they are like criminals. They are not powerful. Previous few speakers for the three panels have discussion, Russia weak or Russia strong. I think both answers are right and wrong. Russia is fragile. So they could be like the Schrödinger Russia. It depends when you will open this box. Because if we think that Russia is strong and we are afraid of Russia, she becomes more strong. If we are fighting against them, it really weak and it really could collapse very quickly. As Rajana say, it was 2023. You have the book about the years when Russia collapsed. Russia could collapse in June 2023 when it was a Prigozhin cases, if we all were prepared for it. Captive nation to uprise in that day, the Ukraine, our ally in European Union and the United States to support different uprising group in the Bashkortostan, Sakha, Buryatia, Ingria, and so on. We will have one more same moment, and we should be prepared for it. So, next point, there was a great thing about the nukes in a bad hand that you say, but it's not a bad hand, it's the worst this hand ever could be. So, dear Carlos says that there is a risk about to be nukes in some terroristic group or something like that. We have the worst terroristic group ever. It's KGB. It's worse than Al-Qaeda or Hamas or some other. By the way, they created a lot of terroristic group. So, you have nukes already in the worstest hand ever. And when it becomes independent states of post-Russian spaces, there will be denuclearization of this space. Because you know the example of USSR, Kazakhstan and Ukraine provide their nukes, and they don't have nukes. And only mistakes was not to take these nukes from the Russia. If the United States probably in the early 19th do it, we don't have this situation. So there should be 100 denuclearization of post-Russian spaces, and the leaders of future independent states like Buryatia, Sakha, Siberia, Bashkortostan, Tatarstan, they already agreed to provide their nukes for the recognizing them like independent states, because they don't need nukes, because they don't want to use it. Even if they have some problem with their neighbors, I hope it never will be. But Bashkortostan, Tatarstan have some problems. They will don't need to use nukes against each country because it's not far away. It's very tight space. So the last points that I try to say, if you want to prevent Third World War, if you want to stop not only Russia, but their allies in PRC, Iran, and North Korea, we should be proactive, we should be offensive, and we should be asymmetric. So it's not enough to defeat Russia in Ukraine. It's not enough because the problem not in Putin. He is not the source of problem. He is consequences of that. We should decolonize Russia. Moreover, the colonization of Russia is also a tool to defeat Russia in Ukraine because Moscow don't have resources and people. They take everything from Colonia. So it's only the way how they could be threat not only for Ukraine, but Finland, Norway, Denmark, and other countries in the world. So please try to recognize that that's only the colonization of Russia, only creating new successful, not only independent, but successful states is something that could change and prevent this aggression, and is the category not of visual thinking, it's category of geopolitical venture, and also it's a category of risk management, because big Russia, it's a big problem. If you have small countries, of course, not of new independent states will be like Estonia, yeah, like it's post-Soviet country. Not all of them will be like Ukraine or even Kazakhstan or Azerbaijan. Some of them will be like Turkmenistan. But of course, it's very bad totalitarian state. But no one here afraid of Turkmenistan. So the problem of Turkmenistan is only a problem of Turkmenian people, unfortunately, and we hope they will change it. And for the last, I want to say, organize a moment. We will prepare with speakers some summary notes, and we probably will provide it with the Jamestown Foundation. And Janusz Bugajski probably will be the editor of this summary, so you could wait it. And you are welcome for our next public event of Free Nation Post-Russia Forum platform, which we are wanted to organize in autumn in one of the capital of North Europe, because North Europe know what Russia is it, probably in Oslo or in Helsinki or in Stockholm. Tallinn, Riga also on the table. So if somebody interested to be partner, we are open. And also recommended to read the anthology that Free Nation New States that Janusz Bugajski did, and we will make the promo tour in the July in Europe and probably with Janusz in autumn. So thank you one more time, and probably when we finish after the Robert and Margarita, I invited everybody to make the photo with our Make Moscovia Small Again narrative. Thanks.
I'll be brief because I know I'm standing between you and the reception, the cocktail hour. So first of all, thanks to Oleg and the Free Nations Post-Russia Forum. Thanks to Jamestown Foundation. Thanks especially to Margarita and my colleague from Delphi, Maya Otrashvili, who both did incredible amounts of work to put this together. I've been studying Russia for almost 30 years, and I learned some things today. I learned a lot of things today. This was not, for me at least, your typical DC think tank conference with the same people sitting around talking to each other about the same things. So this, to me, is a really important event. I think it's important to continue to do these, especially in the United States, where even in the Russia watcher community, we tend to talk about Putin or the Kremlin, or even when we say Russia, we tend to think of it as a single entity. Right, as a unitary actor, we don't look below the surface and really understand the dynamics, the demographic, the social, cultural, and political dynamics inside the Russian Federation. But we should, because I would argue that as long as Russia continues to use violence against its own people and deny basic rights to its own people, particularly the non-Russian ethnic groups in Russia, as long as it continues to do that, it's going to be more likely to use violence, use force, and to deny rights to those outside of its borders, right? I think that I think that sort of makes sense, that a regime that is used to using violence internally is going to be more prone to use violence externally, and that matters. That matters to all of Russia's neighbors. It matters to Europe. It matters to the United States. Despite what our current government thinks, it matters. And I would say, I guess I would end on maybe a hopeful note. We've heard a lot today about how strong and resilient Russia appears to be, but I would offer that these personalist authoritarian regimes like Putin are hard but brittle. In other words, they can take blow after blow after blow, and it looks like they're sort of impervious, but then something will happen. Sometimes it's a small thing that doesn't seem to be important. A crack will occur and spread, and the entire edifice will crumble. We should remember, I think, that the whole Arab Spring started because a Tunisian fruit seller self-immolated after being abused and humiliated by a police officer. Now, the Arab Spring didn't produce a lot of good for the Arab world in the long run, and we had some of this discussion here, right? The collapse of the Russian regime may not produce anything better, but I think it's unlikely to produce anything worse. We're dealing with the worst Russia that I've ever seen in my professional life. And as we've noted today, the nuclear weapons are already in irresponsible hands. I don't think it could get much worse. So I think we should be doing to Russia what Russia has been doing to us for a couple of decades, and that is trying to destabilize it internally. That's the war that's being waged on Western societies, and I think we need to give it back. Thank you.
I have very little to add to these wonderful discussions that we had today. But one advice for US and we European policymakers. First, to understand that there are only two empires left in the world. This is the Russian Empire and this is China. And they're now working together. Secondly, to understand that the war, Russia's war against Ukraine, is a global war. It is a war between Russia and Ukraine, but it's also on the one side is the help of the West, but on the other side we have China, Iran, we have North Korea. This is a rogue alliance. This is alliance of disruption that has a beef with the West, not with Ukraine, but with the West. They are supporting Russia because they want to jointly oppose the West and diminish the West and replace the West from that leading role that it has in the world, particularly the United States. The thing that really irks them is that the United States is still a superpower, and they're doing everything possible to bring that superpower down. So in understanding this, has to be the two leading elements of Western foreign policy. It's an empire, and it has allies that want to bring the West down. Secondly, looking at what kind of empire is this? Who lives there? Who are the people in that empire? Where do they originate from? What their aspirations are? We don't know that in the West. I heard from so many guests today saying, nobody talks in Washington about the peoples of Russia. Nobody talks about the different nations, the different nationalities, about what they want, about their countries, about how they've been exploited and what their dreams are. This is one of the only events that is covering this topic, and I'm very proud that Oleg and Bob and the Jamestown. I'm very proud that you brought this topic, Oleg. And we are following because it's very important. We have, of course, our own work done on this topic, but it was important to unite our efforts. Next thing to understand, Russia is not as mighty as it looks. It's becoming more and more like an empty balloon because of the economy, because of the reduced exports of energy. This is an economy that relies on exports of energy resources, hasn't developed to the extent that can sustain itself without those exports. 60% of Russian budget relies on oil and gas exports. And those exports are going down, and even if they don't completely going down in volume, they go down in money. So the money is no good. for the oil that they're selling because of the price cap, because every country is taking advantage of this price cap and negotiating even further discounts. So the money is really not good, not what it used to be. So it's easy to bring down with a very targeted, very specific, and very massive in many ways sanctions. That is going to hurt the export of oil and gas, and that is going to hurt the banks. They're going to limit the banks of Russia. This is going to be the real deal to stop the war and to incite change in Russia. And the last thing I would say is, if any American leader wants to be great, he has to follow his predecessors that had the guts to oppose the Soviet Empire, to say, bring that wall, Mr. President, and to follow on that promise with very, very strong statements and strong policy that did not leave much room for the Soviet Union, because the Soviet Union was towing, it was collapsing economically. It's pretty much the same situation now. If we don't have leaders to take advantage of this moment to dismantle Russia, Russia will continue to be a danger to the European continent, and probably not only. So I'll stop here, and I would like to thank everyone. First of all, let me thank Josh for all the incredible works he did. Our staff, Mamie Powers and Aaron Hope, and Peace, who's been tweeting the entire event today, and Alyssa helping downstairs, and Joseph Babel, who is downstairs as well. And this was incredible work. I thank you very much. Thank you, Oleg. Thank you. Thank you, Bob and Maya, for this incredible help. You made it possible. They did such a fundraising. They're incredible. Thank you, and I hope we'll continue these discussions.